Students, this is Dr. K. Sivya, Department of Pharmacology, Faculty of Santiram College of Pharmacy. So our next topic is regulation of respiration. So how the respiration is regulated? So from these objectives, the respiration was regulated. First one is neural regulation, chemical regulation, then some other aspects. So if you take in, see the respiration rate in adults 12 to 18 times per minute. So tidal volume of approximately 500 ml. Tidal value means the normal inspiration and expiration volumes completely we can call as tidal volume. See how it is this tidal volume, it is regulated by the motor neurons that innervate the respiratory muscles. So control mechanism, it is mainly involuntary function, not voluntary function. So located medullary, you know already the meaning of involuntary function. So there is no involvement in yourself. So it automatically happen. So where it is involved, how this involuntary function it is happen. So through the nerves, so located in the medullary and pontine centers. We can see that where is the, here the diagram is very small, we can show you. So this is medullary respiratory center. This is pons, this is medullary respiratory. So how interlinked with neurons with muscles. So that muscles is intrinsic and extrinsic muscles. Intercostal muscles between the ribs. We can see how it is regulated. So these nerves like during the talking, signaling, swimming, laughing, breath holding, so these are all automatically reflexed. See here the diagram is a little bit big. See here the in the medulla we have the medullary respiratory center. In that dorsal respiratory group and ventral respiratory group. So these groups again interlinked with pons. In that pons we can have the pontine respiratory center, and also we have the pneumotaxic center also here. In the pons P. So pons P we have to remember. So pontine respiratory group neurons and pneumotaxic center also present in the pons. So these neurons in the medulla oblongata. So from these neurons reach to the, this is one neuron to from here to spinal cord. From the spinal cord one more neuron, it is reached to the intercostal muscles present between the ribs. So intercostal neurons, these muscles. So intercostal neurons we can also call okay, this is intercostal nerves. Then if you take in the phrenic nerves present in diaphragm. So the phrenic nerves is called so whatever the neurons present in intercostal muscles and diaphragms, we can call also phrenic nerves. Fine. So generation of normal respiration spontaneous rhythm, control and rate depth of the respiration. So depending upon the stimulation and requirement, it is stimulated. So neuron means automatic control, afferent impulse to respiratory center. You know what is the meaning of afferent? So the sensory information passed to the brain. So that afferent impulses sent to the respiratory center. Depending upon the respiratory center, then automatically the neurons affected. So chemoreceptors chemically, and how the chemoreceptors activated and how the effect of oxygen and carbon dioxide and pH in the blood also regulation. See the entire once again I am going to deeply see. These are the higher centers. So already I said that pneumotoxic center in the medulla, and this is a Pons area. So what are the higher centers? Cerebral cortex, limbic system, hypothalamus. These are all it is present, higher centers. In that pneumotoxic center, apnestic center, in the medulla oblongata, chemoreceptors and these are received chemoreceptors and received chemoreceptors and baroreceptors and of carotid and aortic sinuses. Chemoreceptors and baroreceptors are present in carotid and aortic sinuses. So I will show you where it is carotid and aortic. This is medulla oblongata. Okay. So cerebrospinal fluid chemoreceptors. So this is chemoreceptors present in carotid artery and aortic arch, but these chemoreceptors present in cerebrospinal fluid, nothing but in the inner ventricles. Ventricles secretes the cerebrospinal fluid. Already we discussed in nervous system. So here the chemoreceptors present in the ventricles, in the ventricle cerebrospinal fluid present, and other neurons, how it is controlled through the stretch receptors of lungs. Stretch receptors are present in lungs. When it is stretched, that information is into the medulla oblongata, and also the phrenic nerve present in diaphragm. This one also to control the diaphragm contraction and relaxation through the involvement of respiratory center present in medulla oblongata. So this is the way of automatic control in the respiratory system, how it is regulated. Next, so control of respiration, same only, already we discussed it. So this is Pons area medullary, this is external intercostal diaphragm. So pontine respiratory center interact with the medullary respiratory center to smooth the respiratory pattern. So pontine respiratory center, it is present in Pons. So interact with the medullary respiratory center and to function is the smooth. And ventricle respiratory group, already I said that in the medulla oblongata two groups present, ventral respiratory group and dorsal respiratory group. So ventricle contains a rhythm generators whose output drives respiration. It contains the nerves, it coming from the output. Then next, dorsal respiratory group integrate the peripheral sensory input. So this is going to output, this is input. So these are the one group nerves output and one group nerves input. So how it is maintained in the, so neurons in the reticular formation of medulla. So integrated neurons, excitatory inputs and inhibitory inputs will be present. So excitatory inputs are, so excitation means stimulation, inhibition means to inhibit. Cerebral cortex pneumotoxic center, vagal efferent from stretch receptors. So the stretch receptors send the information through the vagus nerve. Then inhibitor is only apnestic center. So the ventral respiratory group of neurons. E neurons present, bulb spinal excitatory and premotor neurons. So this is nucleus tractus salutatorius, how it is interlinked with medullary respiratory center, and this is a nucleus retrovenous. So whatever it is, the finally these are all send the information to the respiratory center present in medulla oblongata. Don't think more about E neurons, bulbo respiratory. So what is this? So don't think more about it. Just this is the neurons names only. But whatever these neurons send the information to the medullary respiratory center. So these are the one of the examples. So this is how reticular activating system. So that whatever impulses and received by the pons and medulla oblongata. So this is called as reticular activating system. So the how the your respiratory system stimulated through the entire our environment. See, either auditory impulses or visual impulses and touch, pain, temperature, these are all affect the respiratory center. Suppose if you seen any dangerous things, then automatically your respiratory center is stimulated in the medulla oblongata. And also if you heard any dangerous voice, inconvenience voice, automatically your respiratory center is stimulated. These respiratory stimulator, when it stimulates, automatically your respiration is increases. So like that, touch, pain, temperatures also to affect the respiratory center present in the medulla oblongata, so that automatically your respiratory center will increases. So these are the some other cerebral cortex. Already we discussed about how the impulse received in the cerebral cortex. So these are all affect the pons and the medulla oblongata. They have the pneumotoxic center, pontonic center, and medullary respiratory center. These respiratory centers collectively receive the information, then to stimulate the respiratory muscles present in respiratory system. So these are the afferent impulses to respiratory center from higher centers, non-chemical, from chemical to chemical. These are the three types. See how it is. See some of the brain, higher centers of the brain, speech, emotions, voluntary control of breathing and actions, potentiality in motor pathways. So this is sensory and this is so both are affected. Some positives, some emotions to stimulate, some emotions to decrease. So like that. But medullary chemoreceptors, when the decreases pH, means H plus ions, when it is increases, or increases carbon dioxide to stimulates these chemoreceptors. Already said that they are present in a medullary. These chemoreceptors are present in carotid artery and arch of aorta. So these, when it is decreases the pH in the blood and carbon dioxide, and then automatically stimulates the medullary center. And then as a carotid and aortic chemoreceptors. So these, so what I said, and the chemo and in the ventricles also have the chemoreceptors. So there it also decreases same So when it is carried, decreases the oxygen levels, so they are also stimulated. So hearing brewer reflex stretch receptors. So simply we have to understand that stretch receptors in lungs. So the stretch receptors, so how it is when it is more stretched, your lungs automatically send the information negatively. So more the lungs are more stressed, so that's why respiration center it will be decreased. And proprioceptors in muscles and joints. So these are also, so proprioceptors present in muscles, and receptors for touch or temperature, what I will discuss entire here. So how it is regulated. So these are the from higher centers already we discussed, and from non-chemical receptors. So that's why so without involvement of chemicals, here involvement of receptors. So what I we discussed, stretch receptors, J receptors we can discuss, and proprioceptors, chest wall stretch receptors, baroreceptors and thermoreceptors. These are all regulate the system. Already we discussed about this. See, this is stretch receptors, so how it is regulated. Lung inflation, stimulation of stretch receptors in bronchi and bronchioles. So the stretch receptors inhibit the respiration only when the tidal volume greater than 1 to 1.5 liter. See, only tidal volume greater than 1 to 1.5 liter. So what is the tidal volume? The normal inspiration and expiration volume. The normal inspiration plus normal expiration volume is only 500 ml, nothing but 0.5 liter. If this is greater than 1 to 1.5 liter, your lungs stretched condition. Then in this stretched condition, the stretch receptors affect, then stimulates the respiratory center, and then automatically decreased respiration. So if it is greater than 1 liter, stretch of the airways stretched, then automatically increase the respiration. When increase the stretch receptors send the information respiratory center, then decreases the time respiration. This is not given properly, but what I said here, when the tidal volume greater than the 1 to 1.5 liter, when it is increased, then automatically stretch receptors to inhibit the respiratory center in the medulla oblongata through the nerves. So these are the how the stretch receptors, lung deflation, hearing is the same only through the vagus nerve. So stretch receptors stimulates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve stimulates the respiratory center in the medulla oblongata. It's the same thing. J receptors. J nothing but juxtapulmonary capillary receptors. Juxtapulmonary capillary receptors. So these are all present in pulmonary. It's unmyelinated vagus efferents, sensitive to increase in the concentrated intestinal fluid. These are present in brain. So sensitive to increase in content of intestinal fluid between the capillary and endothelium of alveoli epithelium. See, these are the unmyelinated. So these capillary receptors, neurons, whatever the neurons sent to the juxtapulmonary capillary receptors, sensitive to increase the content of intestinal fluid between the capillary and endothelium and alveolary epithelium. So between the alveolar or these nerves are present. So these are stimulated. So stimulation causes apnea, hypoventilation, bradycardia, hypotension and weakness of skeletal muscle. So when these affected, these are stimulated and sent to the information respiratory center present in medulla oblongata. So now how the reflexes also affected, if we take in, so cough reflex, sneezing reflex, and reflex tachycardia, bronchial constriction, and deglutition reflexes. These are all automatically stimulates the respiratory center. See, when it is these are all magnum through the involvement of the medulla oblongata. So how it is remaining of the oxygen, this is comes under oxygen, carbon dioxide, H plus ions effect, it will come in chemical respiratory center. This is proprioceptors stimulates the inspiratory neurons, increase the rate. So I already said the proprioceptors present in muscles. Already we discussed. This one also we already discussed it, how it is affected. Chest wall stretch receptors means in the chest some stretch receptors present. So that chest also to stimulate the respiration. Whatever it is, all receptors contact with neurons, that neurons contact with respiratory center present in medulla oblongata as well as pneumotaxic center in pons. So the baroreceptors present in arch of aorta, you know where is aorta present, the superior in the heart, you know, aorta. So this is arch of aorta. Here the aortic body is present. Here the baroreceptors present. And also carotid artery. You know, so already we discussed the chemoreceptor also present in same place. The chemoreceptors and baroreceptors are same. So these when it is these are also effective. When is blood pressure increased, then automatically to regulate the respiratory center present in medulla oblongata. So this is the automatic inhibition effect. Why? When the more stretch, the respiration is more. So when it stretches, then automatically negative. Slow use stretch receptors in lungs, like that way. Here also regulated. And thermoreceptors, warm and cold. So warm receptors also to affect the cerebral cortex. So this one also included in the from chemical receptors. So chemical receptors we can discuss later. We have another PPT for that. So peripheral chemoreceptors. So nothing but in already we discussed this. How the peripheral. So suppose in the blood the carbon dioxide. This is it is related to chemoreceptors. How it is mechanism here involved when the low oxygen levels to close the potassium channels. When the potassium channels closed, the potassium level increased in this cell. When the positive charge increased in this cell, then automatically we can call it as depolarization. Already we discussed in earlier classes. When the positive charge increased in this cell, we can call it as depolarization. When the depolarization takes place, calcium 2 plus ions opened and calcium 2 entry. These calcium 2 plus ions to diffuse the or to break the neurotransmitters vesicles, and then these neurotransmitters releases the neurons. So these neurons again stimulates the another. These neurotransmitters stimulate the another neurons. So especially the dopamine and other excited neurotransmitters, more signals is passed, then automatically more respiration is happen. This is how the oxygen levels decreases in the blood, how it is affected through the chemoreceptors. Through the chemoreceptors, these oxygen, when the levels of oxygen perception, when the decreased levels of oxygen, that perception received by the chemoreceptors, that chemoreceptors affect the potassium channels. Then after that, cell depolarization. Then after that, voltage gated calcium 2 plus channels opens. Then automatically diffuse the neurotransmitter vesicles. Then automatically these neurotransmitters affect the another neuron. This is happening in the neuron cells. This is happening in the neuron cells. So this is the how. So how we can discuss the things regarding this. Already we discussed. This is the how the carbon dioxide. We can discuss another PPT. So this is the way of how it is regulation of respiratory system in our body. So I think understand all of you regarding regulation of respiratory center. We can also discuss about next class for the there is a regulation of respiratory center in the chemicals, nothing but gases. Thank you.